Yep.
Talk about that.
So, I mean, growing up, family of addicts, never really knew there was another way to live. So I thought it was just kind of normal, like the using, I ran with my family.
Got high with the family?
Got high with the family. I mean, my mom was like my biggest running partner.
Really?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I started using at 12.
What, with your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Started at 12 with my mom. I think it was just one of those things too where I wanted that relationship with my mom so bad. I was like, okay, what can I do to be close to her? Like, what is gonna give me that best friend feeling with her? And that was the only way of connection. So that's how it started. And, you know, it was hard. I was one of those addicts too that was just in and out, in and out. I tried it all, the rehabs, the halfway houses, outpatient, I mean, you name it, I tried it. And it just got to the point of like, you know, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm so sick of packing everything I own into a garbage bag. And I don't know, the last time I used, I sat there and I was like, I just can't believe I did this again. And I just...
Where were you at when that happened?
It was Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day 2016, I woke up and I was all by myself. And I reached out to someone in the program and they brought me to treatment. And my last run was 9 days. And I thought I was out there years. And every time just got shorter and shorter. And I don't know, it was just different this last time.
Okay, so where were you at that moment when you made that decision?
I was sitting in the addict's living room, calling treatment centers, and he was with his family eating Thanksgiving dinner, and I was sitting there by myself, calling treatment centers again, and I remember getting into first step detox, and that was like one of the worst detoxes too. But I remember getting in there, and my body was just so physically ill that last detox, and I don't know, I just got out of my own way this last time. Really, everything that I wanted to do wasn't the plan that was going, so I just got out of my way. Yeah.
Okay, so you went to detox, and then where'd you go?
So, it's funny, so when I was calling around, I said, all right, I'm gonna go to any detox there is. I said, but I'm not gonna go to First Step because, you know, it's a crappy detox, there's like no food, only bed open. So then, when I'm in detox, I remember sitting down with the counselor, and they knew me at this point. And I said, okay, send me anywhere, but don't send me to McCall's in Torrington. I said, that's where I'm from. They have the alumni meeting. I don't want people to see them in there again. They come back a few hours later, and they're like, Chelsey, it's the only bed available. And I had to make a decision at that moment, like, okay, how bad do you want this? So I went to McCall's, and then once I was in there too, it was funny, they're like, okay, what do you want to do for discharge planning? I was like, send me anywhere but New London.
Where'd you go? College Weeks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, anywhere but New London. Can't go back there, I just left, I'm embarrassed. And again, they're like, that's the only bed available.
Basic needs
Uh-huh.
or halfway house?
Halfway house, actually, yep.
SCAD, halfway house.
SCAD halfway house.
Latoya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in New London again. And that was the last of it. And even being in the halfway house this last time, like I just started to do things different. I remember like sitting there like reading a book one night, and I was like, this is weird, this is not what I do. You know, normally I'm gossiping, I'm trying to bend the rules, break the rules, get away with whatever I can, and just something felt different this last time.
How old were you?
How old was I? 7, 8 years, no, around like 25, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Felt like I was like 50.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then the halfway house, sat there for a few months, and they asked me, they said, okay, you ready for your apartment? And I was like, what are you talking about, an apartment? They said, you got basic needs. You know, you keep doing this sober house thing. I think we should just get you an apartment at this point. I said, absolutely not. I cannot be trusted there. I said, but I am going to do something different. I'm not going to go to the same sober houses I've been doing over and over again. I said, I want to try something else. And that's when I met someone in the halfway house that was going over to your house, Gloria's house on Coleman Street.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended there.
Yeah. What was it like?
Going to the sober house, it was completely empty. It was a brand new house.
Yeah.
So I was very nervous. There was just the house manager and me, but it was beautiful. I remember that was the first thing I thought. I'm like, this is a gorgeous house. I went upstairs to the 3rd floor, and it had like the tea light ceilings, everything redone. And that's when, you know, I met you and you showed me that room on the 2nd floor, like the plant room.
Yeah, that was funny.
That's what it was.
That was the quivering lip moment.
Yeah. And I was like, thank you, you know, I'm okay with this single. I said, I'll go upstairs to the double.
Yeah. So you went upstairs on the 3rd floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we started getting some girls in. And then, you know, the house manager didn't stay the house manager for long. And I remember calling you after the house manager, you know, was drinking, you know, just struggling herself. And I remember getting the call from you about managing the sober house. And I was like, does he even know who he's asking right now? I was like, he is out of his mind. And I remember I ran it by a few people, you know, I called my sponsor with every little decision I made because I could not make any decisions on my own. And then she was like, no, I think it's a great idea. And I was like, are you people crazy? Like, do you even know who you're talking to? And then a few other people were like, yeah, Rick must be crazy. Like, he doesn't know Chelsey.
Yeah, they told me.
Yeah.
Like, dude, are you out of your mind? And I was like, well, listen, I'm her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like she's very serious about her recovery.
Yeah.
And the way she carries herself, you know?
And that was the thing is you're the first person in my life that seen me for what I was doing today and didn't just judge me off who I was in the past.
Because I'm you.
And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Really. Because when you have somebody constantly just throwing it in your face of who you used to be and all the mistakes you've made in life, like you're never going to want to move forward or be able to move forward because you're just going to continuously remember who you were before. So, no, I started running the sober house and it was the best decision I made. Like, I think doing something different and being responsible for others was really something I needed in my recovery. Like, I now had to think about other people. Like, every decision I made, like, it was going to reflect on me, and people were going to be there to watch me, and I don't know, it was beautiful there, really.
Yeah, it ended up being a great house.
It was talked about for a long time. Like, it really was one of the happiest houses too. Like, all the fires we had, everything we did, all the groups, like, you know, your houses would come down, we'd do like Sail Fest, Memorial Day, and went to meetings, and yeah, it was a house of recovery, really.
Yeah. Now looking back, right? Because I know for me, when I lived in the sober house, all I had to do was like pay my rent, go to a meeting, you know what I mean? Pay my cell phone bill, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
You know, and now with life, right? You have so much responsibility.
Yes.
You know, I remember telling the guy, I said, listen, dude, he's like, I got so much responsibility. I said, dude, you live in a fucking sober house. You got sober house problems. Wait till you get clean and then you come out into the real world.
Yep.
And you have a mortgage and kids and all that stuff.
Yeah. I really took advantage of the sober house, and you know, a lot of the women, men and women over the years, I told them, like, take advantage of it. Like, I cleaned up so much wreckage in my past when I was at the sober house. Like, you know, getting a car back on the road, you remember, like, that was a big thing to me. I never thought I would have a vehicle again in my life. Like, there was just back taxes, there was this, there was that. I remember going to the DMV to register my first car clean, and they were like, well, where's the plates to your last car? And I was like, the plates? Like, I don't even know where the whole car went, you know? So, like, it was a process, but I was able to, you know, take it one step at a time and how to be a clever since.
Yeah, I remember when you bought that car.
Mm-hmm.
The Suzuki.
Yep. Yep. Well, I had one before that, too. It was like a little Toyota or something. You remember?
Mm-mm. No.
You helped me get it.
I helped you get the first car?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
It was like a little $500 car. I think we ended up losing the title to it or something after that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was the biggest thing you learned about yourself in the sober house? Running the sober house?
Biggest thing I learned about myself. I learned I was capable of doing anything that I wanted to do and that I could put my mind to. Like, cause I thought everything was impossible. Like, and I learned by staying in position, working on my recovery, like, and just handling one thing at a time. Like, I could do anything I want, really. I lived there. I didn't have my children. I didn't have a vehicle. I had no job. I had nothing.
Mm.
And just to where I am today, like, it's a miracle, really.
So what else happened along the way that, you know, you've achieved in recovery?
I've achieved a lot. Countless blessings. I started working in the field when I started running the sober house. I went to work at SCAD Detox, which was just such an incredible experience. Like, sitting on the other side from SCAD being my number one detox that I went to weekly to being able to go there and work and just help so many people. I was just so grateful for it. And then I was able to really just continue my journey working in the field since then. I've, done detox, residentials, case management, finance. I've helped thousands of people, over the years, just using my own personal experience. Going back to school, that was a huge accomplishment too.
What did you go back to school for?
Getting ready to go into the nursing program right now. Another thing, like when I got clean, I owed thousands from, school that I attended many, many years ago, and just never thought that was going to be a thing again either. And I was able to pay off that debt and enroll back in school. And even just being able to show my children too, I didn't always do the right thing, when I had kids and, while they were growing up, but now they can sit down and see me on my laptop and doing schoolwork, and I drilled in their head all the time. I'm like, you need to go to college and you need to work on credit, all these things that no one ever told me. They're 12 and 13, they're like, we have a while to go. I'm like, but you need to know right now. As soon as you get out of high school, you're doing something. They think I'm nuts, but it's fine.
You are nuts.
I know.
So where were they when you got clean and sober, your kids?
They were with their grandmother. So I lost my kids. My daughter was a month old, and my son was a year old. So they went and lived with their grandmother, and I didn't have custody of them, from when they were 1 year old until 8 years old. Yeah. They just came back 6 years ago.
Okay, and what was that process like? Was that another thing you thought, I'm never gonna get my kids, or you were like, I want my kids back?
Looking back now, I always wanted my kids back. I want them, and then I learned that, God gave them back to me when I was ready to finally have them. I needed to take care of me.
What was that like, knowing that your kids were there and you weren't a responsible enough parent to have your kids? What was that feeling like?
It was hard. It brought me back to my childhood. My mom, struggled, my whole life, her whole life, and I remember DCF taking us all the time, taking us from my mom, and then she would, get sober for a few months, DCF would give us back, and then she would stay, clean and sober just while DCF was involved.
Was she in recovery? She going to meetings and stuff? Or?
She tried. She tried.
She kind of half-assed it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I feel like a person that tries recovery and doesn't get it, it's like, either you're going to get it or you're not going to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she only did it just to, appease court.
If you do the program, you will recover.
Yep. And so yeah, every time DCF took us and brought us back, it caused so much more damage, really. And that was something I always remembered and I stuck by when I lost my children was, I can't do this until I'm ready. Like, until I know I can be a full-time mom and stay clean and be responsible, like, I didn't want to risk it. And when the time was right, I think I had about 2.5 years clean when I started the process to get my kids back. Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was scary. It was very scary. I remember going to the courthouse with the worker, and she sat me down and she said, I have your file, this, that, and another thing. I know who you are. And I said, and that's fine. I'll tell you all about who I was. I said, but you don't know who I am today. And I brought a huge binder, like this full, and it had everything she needed to know about who I was today. I said, because I'll tell you what's written in that binder over there. I didn't show up for school. I didn't show up for doctor's appointments for the kids. I didn't show up for court dates for them. Like, I know, you don't have to tell me. But that's not who I am anymore. I brought everything saying I graduated from, the rehab, the halfway house, reference letters, all my bills up to date, like everything you needed to know, I brought it. It was scary. But I got him. And then it was even scarier getting him back full time, because I wasn't a mom. I had them when they were babies, and it wasn't like a visit here and there like before. They just came right back.
Well, you hadn't seen them? Like you weren't seeing them regularly before?
I've seen them, but I would have to see them like in their home, and my kid's father isn't the most easiest person to deal with, so everything was on his terms, so I couldn't really parent or be a mom how I wanted to be too.
And how were the kids during that process? So, like, they were like, Mom, we miss you, we love you.
Oh, absolutely.
Did they know you were in recovery?
No.
No?
No.
Where did you say you were?
Just told them I lived far away.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay. And what were some of the things you guys talked about?
Oh, he would talk about school and how that's going, and I remember getting, I have this one video on my phone of my daughter. She probably was like 4 or 5 at the time. I brought that $500 car, and it was like this beat up car, And
you drove it up to Torrington?
I drove it up to Torrington.
Yeah.
She was like, "This is so nice, Mom." She's like rolling down the window manually. She's like,
God.
"I love this." Like, odometer didn't work on it, nothing.
Yeah.
But she, she was proud and she was happy, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. And did they want to live with you?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And
So what would you tell them?
I would just tell them not right now. Mom's working on it. Give me some time. And it's hard to say that to a 4 and a 5-year-old. They don't.
Well, how'd you feel when you left? You're like, I got to get these kids back.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
And how sober were you when you started the process?
About 2 years in.
Okay.
I made sure I moved out of the sober house. I got an apartment. I stayed, stable in the apartment for a while. I wanted to make sure everything was okay. And it was a 3-bedroom. Was able to have a bedroom for each of them, and they were ready for when I was ready, and they're ready
Did
to
you
come back.
get visitations first, or they just came home and that was it?
They just came home. It was a different circumstance.
What was that like?
It
When you went to court,
was
how long were you going to court before they started to turn the tide? Like, we want to give you custody back?
So what happened was in September, September 2019. Yep, September 2019. I started the process to bring my kid's father to court, and it was the scariest thing I've ever done. And, he's a very abusive man. Never stuck up for him in my entire life. One thing about this guy, he will remind you of who you were.
Yep.
And I started that paperwork, and I just reminded myself I am not that person I used to be. And in the process of the court hearing, he ended up having a DCF case open up. So DCF got involved, and it ended up turning into a DCF case and not a family court case. So that's how it started, and it took about 3 months. And then the kids came home. Yeah.
You want to ask a question, Ching Ching?
So later on, when you gain a lot of success, how did you maintain your self-worthiness? Like, how did you work that up? Because a lot of
Your
people,
self-worth?
yeah, a lot of people can't hold their success in recovery. They sabotage. They do things good in a few years, then they go right back where it was. How did you gradually build up that confidence that you got yourself?
It took a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things for me, a lot of work on myself, honestly. I was so petrified of getting high again. Like, I was so scared. I took every suggestion that people told me to do. So I joined therapy immediately. I got a sponsor immediately. And I just started doing like self-esteemable things. I started writing a lot, and I think, for me, what was life-changing was step work, honestly. Like sitting there, learning about myself, and just really having it on paper. Like, I'm not the person I was in the past. When I'm clean, I don't do these kind of things. And just building that confidence back up. Really.
Yeah.
That's not easy, because we see guys, we're trying to figure out how do we tell them, don't sabotage yourself with your
Well,
success.
I think it's a self-love problem. We don't love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always ask the question, like, if you met a girl, how would you treat her? And I'll treat her like a queen. I'll show her. So what would happen if you treated yourself like that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people in recovery, men and women, don't work on their self-worth. They don't work on their self-care. They don't take really good care of themselves.
Yeah.
Like if you're living in a sober house and you're gossiping and you're not doing any work on yourself, and you're drinking Red Bulls, and you're on 5 different medications, and you're going to meetings to meet guys or whatever, girls or whatever, that's not really doing work on yourself.
No, it's not.
You go into a sober house and you start the process of recovery. You know what I mean? And like taking the suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You start eating better.
Mm-hmm.
And you start taking better care of yourself. You start to love yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then doing service work. You know what I mean? Like getting involved with H&I, having a coffee commitment, being a chairperson. I think the coffee commitment's the best commitment there is.
I think, and this is what I tell a lot of people too. They're like, how do you do it still? 8.5 years clean. I said, I do exactly what I did when I first got clean. Like, I do not veer away. I have a home group I go to every week. Faithfully, I show up no matter what. I have a commitment there that makes me show up. And I make sure to take the year commitment too. I have an H&I commitment. I go to Stonington Institute in Groton every single month. I've been doing that my entire recovery. I have a sponsor. I do the step work. And I remember getting a commitment when I first got clean this last time. And they were like, okay, you're going to be the door greeter. And I was like, the door greeter? I was like, well, I'm not hugging everybody. And they're like, you cannot pick and choose.
Where was that?
And
The new meeting at that church there?
it was the morning meeting. Yep. So Monday through Friday, I would be at that meeting, hugging everybody. And I'm so glad I did because,
That was the look good meeting.
oh, yeah. But it gave me that responsibility of like, I need to show up. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just skip out because I want to. Like, I have to show up. So, no, you're absolutely right. Keep doing the same things I did.
Good question.
Yes.
That's a good question. So what was it like when you were at court and you found out your kids were going with you? Did you know, like, you were going to court? You knew they were coming home with you?
I didn't actually get a decision until like 10 minutes before. Like, the whole time I was going to the courthouse, it was, you know, sometimes it would go good, sometimes it wouldn't. It was a hard court case, just because my past looked rough, you know, and just trying to explain to people, you know, you're a changed person when you only have like 1 hour, you know, to say all this in front of the judge. But they made that decision at the courthouse. They said, all right, let's go get your kids. And I was like, right now? They were like, right now. They're like, we're going to pick them up from school. They'll be switching schools as of right now. And I remember going there.
Who was telling you all this?
The DCF worker. And
Wow.
this is the lady that sat me down that first day I met her. And she was like, you're not going to get nothing past me. I know who you are. And I'll tell you what, she still texts me to this day. That court case has been closed for 5 years. And I just got a text from her probably a month ago. And she was like, you know, I ran across your Facebook again. You are my success story. Like, you are the one. I tell my clients and their children, like, you can do this.
Yeah.
And I love it, really.
I tell everybody about her too, don't I? I tell everybody about
Even
her.
I tell about you now. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Now, so you went to the school.
Yep.
Took your kids out of school.
Mm-hmm.
And did they go to the same school?
Yep, they were in the
Who'd you
same
go to
school.
first? Who's your favorite? I'm just kidding.
Favorite, Rick.
Who'd you go to first?
We went and picked up my son first. He was very excited. And then my daughter.
But like, did the DCF worker go with you?
Yep, me and her went together.
And it was you guys had a different relationship. Was she like, I'm really proud of you?
Yes, at this point, after working with me for a couple of months, she was ecstatic for me.
And so did she call the school ahead of time?
No, we literally just showed up there.
At what time?
Like
During the day, during class?
Yep, during school time. It was probably towards like the
Okay.
end of the day. And she just showed up with that piece of paper.
And she had already been to New London, saw your apartment.
Uh-huh.
That was the apartment you and Nikki had, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, talk about the ride over there. Like, what was she saying to you? What were you saying to yourself? Like, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind?
It just happened so fast, to be honest. She was like, all right, let's go to school. And I'm like, I remember leaving the courthouse and I'm like calling Nikki and I'm calling my sponsor. And I'm like, I'm going to like pick them up, like my kids, like full time. Never even like was able to bring my kids out of Torrington by myself before. And we just showed up to that school and she had that piece of paper. And I remember her saying to the teacher, like, as of 12:55 p.m., Mom has full sole custody of her children.
Aww.
And we're here to take them out of class. And the teachers were they were very happy because they knew the kids were having a rough time at home with their father. So they were happy for them. They were happy, for me.
The kids didn't
So they
know.
just came out of their class. Did like kids say goodbye to their teacher? Did the teacher say anything to
Yeah,
them?
they all said goodbye, and that was it.
And they didn't know they were picking them up.
No.
And what did Alex is his name?
Yep.
What did Alex say?
He was excited. He was like, all right, I'm going to my new room. I'm like, you're going to your new room. Let's go.
They had already been there
They went to visit one time, I think.
for overnight, or
No, not even overnight.
okay,
They just came over to like have lunch with the DCF worker,
yeah.
check out the bedrooms.
You had the
and-
rooms all hooked up, and
Yep.
I remember that.
Mhm.
But they know this is coming at some point.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like from a visitation mom to a full-time mom?
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was
I know.
really, really hard. And what made it harder too was I got my kids back January 29th, 2020, and COVID hit 2 weeks later.
Oh boy.
So I went from being, an hour a week, an hour a month mom to now I'm a full-time mom.
Yeah.
Now I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
I'm working from home. So I'm building, my relationship with my kids, really, because we don't even really know each other that well. And I had damaged kids. They had a lot of trauma they went through with me, with their father, with their grandma, with DCF, with courts. So they came home, and my son was in therapy 4 times a week from his trauma. My daughter was in therapy. We had a meeting with DCF once a week. We had a meeting with the attorney once a week, and we had school, and I had my own therapy. All that.
And you have your full-time job.
And I have my full-time job, and I'm trying to teach these kids how to, do Zoom and go to their classes. And, my son, he has an IEP, so, he was in different classes too. So it was hard.
It's crazy.
I remember going to a meeting one day, and I just cried. I was like, my son didn't want to put his pants on this morning, wanted to wear a shirt, and I'm like breaking down, and I'm sobbing in the meeting. And everyone's like, it's okay, that's normal. I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. It's tough for kids to adjust to pandemic class too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They used to go out to see their friends, now they stuck home.
Yeah.
With the mom to build a new relationship because they don't know you neither.
Yeah. It was difficult. And I was like, these teachers wanted me to try and teach everything too. That's when I learned I would never be a teacher, ever. And I had to learn a lot of patience around then, because they also started doing school at home, around these developmental years of this is where they're learning the important stuff. And
my daughter went just from a very happy kid to not talking, not doing any homework. We had the worst relationship during pandemic. It was not easy times.
No, it wasn't.
So with this going on, when did your new relationship come in? The Tucker come into the picture?
Tucker came in about 2 years ago. Yeah, a little over 2 years ago, I would say.
That's how long you already have the time with the kids? How long they've been back to you?
The kids, they just hit
2020.
Yeah.
About 5 years.
Yeah. Around there. Yeah, so they were home for a few years too.
Yeah.
And this has been an adjustment for them too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They just adjusted to live with mom.
Yeah. They're rocking through it though. They adore him, really.
Yeah, I bet.
Good man. Is he a good dad?
He is.
Is he?
He has the patience that I don't have. They'd rather tell him things than me. Even right now, I'm struggling with my daughter. She hit 7th grade, and I'm like, whoo. I'm like, where did my little sweet daughter go? And she just thinks I'm the most uncoolest person that's ever walked this earth. So
Carson thinks the same with me, I think.
Carson thinks you're not the coolest?
Yeah.
You're coolest or you're not?
I'm coolest when I buy him shit, but we go at it a little bit. Not so much, but he because I have to discipline him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My daughter is 17 and a half. She thinks I'm the coolest mom in the world.
Oh, that's great. I hope when my daughter's that age, she thinks I'm cool.
She will.
I don't think kids thank us till later in life. When we're ready to die. Then they'll be like, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Did a good job. All right, I'll see you later.
Yep. I'm trying this new thing with her because me and her go to therapy together. She's had a really rough year since my brother passed. And they were close. So we're working on our communication right now. So now I have to give her cool mom response and then protective mom response. So when she tells me things, I can't always just go to well, why would you do that? You know, or you shouldn't even be focusing on that. And, you know, so I have to give her both answers now. It's working.
It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes be a parent, sometimes just be a listening mom.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So how's it being married?
It's good. It's good. We're about 3.5 weeks in.
Okay.
Still married, so that's a plus.
You guys went right to your honeymoon?
No. Yeah, I stayed home for about a week and then we went the following weekend. Just so I could kind of
Did you go on a cruise?
cruise. Yep.
Where'd you go?
ABC Islands. We went to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. Beautiful.
Those are islands? Carousel is an island?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
What'd you guys do?
We went snorkeling. I tried that out. I'm a scaredy cat with everything, so even like booking excursions. So we went on a cruise before. That's where we got engaged. We went to Mexico, and I don't know what it is. I got clean, and I'm like paranoid about everything now. And so he booked this cruise to Mexico last year, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not going out there to venture out. Like, I'm not getting kidnapped or anything. So this time we were able to, you know, do a few things. So just being able to venture out in the islands. And I remember sitting there in Aruba, and I was like, this is like paradise. Like, going from just like living in such a shallow world, you know, just like in one bedroom, to like sitting in the crystal blue water and just looking up at these like mountains. I'm like, this is gorgeous. I was so limited. I never traveled before I got clean. Never went anywhere.
Yeah. What's the most memorable thing about your honeymoon?
Did you make babies?
Maybe. We'll see.
Wow.
Maybe one more, thinking about it. But probably, honestly, just sitting there looking at that moment. Just looking at the mountains and everything.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to do special things to feel special. Just enjoy the moment.
Mm-hmm. Sitting on the balcony, looking in the water. I remember at one point they were like, hey, we're like cruising by Cuba, and I was like, we are far out here. Like, I can't think about it too much, and I start getting freaked out, but no, it was nice.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing? Food?
On the honeymoon?
Yeah.
The food was okay. It was alright. We did bingo. We did some.
Bingo?
Yeah, I did bingo.
Okay. That's what old people do.
I am old. I'm old at heart. They had the casino on there. They had the comedy shows. There's a lot to do on a cruise. You never been on one?
Was it all inclusive?
Yeah.
No, I never been on a cruise.
You should.
We will go to cruise.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do recovery separately with Tucker? Like, how does two people in recovery? How long he's been sober?
Few months. We do separate recoveries. I've learned that from past relationships. I cannot sponsor somebody. I make sure I have my foundation. They have their foundation. Because I can do that, you know, like, especially like working in the field, having sponsees, like I can really like try and sponsor the person I'm with. Probably in an annoying way when I'm really just trying to help. But no, everything's, you know, separate. I do my own step work. I, you know, have my own network and everything. I think, you know, it's one of the most important things a couple in recovery should do, really. Because if you have everything the same friend group, same, you know, meeting, same everything, something happens, you know, one of you is going to be X'd out from everything. That's just how it is. We would like to say it wouldn't be like that, but in the rooms, you know, it is. So I do my own thing.
How did you two meet?
We met actually Facebook message. Yeah, I know.
Strangers?
I know. And I said, you must have caught me on a really good day because I don't ever like message people back. Like, I don't even really like
that's gamers.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't really talk to, but he got me with a recovery question. That's what it was. He was like, oh, you worked at SCAD. He's like, I worked there too. I was like, if you didn't start with that liner right there, I probably would have never opened it. And no, I wasn't looking for anything. He wasn't looking for anything. And we just went out to dinner and now we're married.
Very blessed.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably another thing like you never thought you would be doing. Because think about the chances at like after age 30, after we have kids.
Yeah.
It's not about somebody just like.
Yeah.
He has to like the kids has to like him.
Yeah.
And he has to understand your recovery, understand the job, understand the mom duty. He has to be there. He has to show up hold all the crazy emotions.
It is.
It's a lot.
Does he show up? Is he like dad of the house? Is he the man of the house?
He is.
Okay, so he steps up.
Mm-hmm.
Alex needs to go to soccer practice. He takes him to soccer practice, or whatever.
Yeah.
Pitches in.
Yeah. And that was an adjustment for me too, because I'm such a person, like, I just want to handle everything. But then I'll get cranky and miserable because I'm handling everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Other women like this, we are very conflicted within ourselves.
Yeah. Like, I don't want you to do it, but then I'm going to get mad that you don't do it or even offer to do it.
Yeah.
But no, he does good with that. He'll, bring them to their appointments, bring them where they need to. It's nice, like, even just watching him play baseball, things like that.
Oh, does Alex play baseball?
Yeah, no, not like on a team.
Okay.
He's very stressed around people like me. But they'll like go to the field and they'll play together. And, that's one thing I tell Tucker all the time. Like, I didn't grow up in like a sports family, like being on teams, this and that. So that's not anything I was able to like really teach my kids either. Which I did. I wish I did. Like, I wish they were on, sports teams and all that. But it's nice to go and play together and have that bonding time.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what does the next 5 years look like for Chelsey?
Oh, 5 years. I would like to finish school, probably in the next few years.
Become an RN?
Become an RN. I want to stay in like the recovery field still. Maybe work in some treatment centers, in home, something like along those lines. And kids will be graduated by then.
How old are they now?
They're about to be 13 or 14 in August.
How far apart are they?
11 months.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh.
My son was not even a year old when my daughter was born. That was hard.
I didn't even know that could actually happen.
Yep.
You have to get pregnant right after the birth.
Literally. Don't recommend either. It was so stressful.
Not good for the physical health at all.
Oh. No. It was nice growing up though with them.
Yeah.
Like, they were like best friends.
Yes.
Until they weren't,
That's the beauty coming out of it.
Yeah, and then now they can't stand looking at each other, but
They will.
They fight a lot.
Oh, they fight all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I remember talking to my brother one day, I'm like, they fight like a lot. He was like, do you not remember us fighting? And I was like, we never did. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you used to chase me around, punch me, hit me. I'm like,
yeah. I always tell them, Ricky and Carson, because they fight a lot.
yeah.
They're very jealous of each other, And I say, one day you guys will be best friends.
Yep.
No way.
Yep.
No way.
Mm.
They will be.
Did you manipulate your little brother? Tell him to do whatever you like him to do?
Yes, all the time.
That's what Stephanie does to CJ. And CJ actually listens to her.
Yeah.
So what's the next 5 years look like? What else?
I don't know. Like, the whole time I've been clean, like, I'm very, like, goal-oriented. Like, I hit goals. Like, that is, hit a goal, check it off my list. It was, go to school, buy a house, get married. So now I'm, like, running out of goals. So, school, I don't know, do something different travel. I don't know.
Are you thinking about moving out this way?
I would like to, whether it's like closer to Torrington, Middletown, this area, I would like to in the next few years. Maybe once the kids are done with high school.
What's in Torrington?
Torrington is my family, so that would be nice. You know, I do have one aunt left and, you know, a cousin, so maybe being closer to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what are you doing for work now?
So right now, I'm getting ready to transition out of this position, but I work at the state building for the young adult, and I am their rep payee, so I handle all their money, you know, clients with mental health, substance use. I'm getting ready to start a new job in about 2 weeks, though. I will be working for the military support program, so I'll be doing case management with veterans in all of Connecticut, so helping them find housing, employment, all sorts of resources. And that's really what I like to do. I did case management for about 6 years until our program ended, and that was my favorite thing, just working in the community, helping women, you know, just find meetings and treatment and housing, jobs,
Help them get their kids back?
Yeah, I've watched so many women get their kids back. It is just so rewarding. Like, working with a female in the beginning who has zero hope, you know, zero confidence in themselves, I'll never get my kids back.
Like you?
Yeah. And then being able to tell them, like, I remember sitting in a treatment center in DCF telling me, you'll never get your kids back. And look where I am today. And it was nice to hear them, like, okay, like, you know, I have some hope now.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible.
Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What would you tell somebody that's new in recovery and they feel like they're going to give up? They want to give up and they're just like, F it, I'm just going to go get high. What would you tell that person?
Stick through the uncomfortability. You know, it's funny, I think back to when I first got clean this last time, and we talked about relationships and recovery, and I remember I was dating this person, right? And they started dating somebody new, and I had to sit in the meetings with them. And for the first time, I learned what it was like to sit through uncomfortability. Every meeting I sat through where I wanted to get up and I called my sponsor and I would say, I'm just going to leave. And I got through that minute. That is what has helped me stay clean. It won't last. You will get through the other side if you just keep holding on.
This too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone in the house can use that. Sit through uncomfortableness.
Yeah, I always tell people in recovery, you got to get uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Like that whole starting point is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if you stick through that and you get through it, you start to embrace a totally different life. You start to have a great life.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't care if you have to sit in fetal position. It will get better.
That's it.
It will.
That's it. All right, Chelsey, I love you. I'm proud of you.
Too.
I'm so happy you got through this. 56 grueling minutes
Ooh.
of podcast.
Great.
But we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Because it took a lot to get her here. Remember I kept saying, she said no. I had to bribe her to get out here. So, with that said, how does one get a hold of us, Xing Xing?
Yes, you can get on our website, newbeginningrecovery.org. You can also find us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram under New Beginning Recovery Houses. If you have a loved one who needs help, please call us on 860-977-5250, or you can call Rick directly
203-909-5707.
Okay.
We don't have to, we get to. Share the show.
Don't be a hoe.
I used to say that, but I was like, no. One of my favorite podcasts said, share the show. Don't be, how do you say it? Share the show, don't be a hoe. How was